Welcome back, and we're getting ready to move into our first segment for today as we talk about the upcoming MMA seminar in Belize. Of course, we've been talking about mixed martial arts for quite some time now, and today we're joined by representatives of the Prevail Combat Club. They're the ones hosting this event, and they have special guest UFC fighter Nate Marquardt with us. So on set, we have Christian Usher, who is an MMA fighter. We have on the end Joel Meyer, who's head coach at Prevail Combat Club, and UFC fighter, special seminar guest, Nate Marquardt in the middle. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
So the conversation is, we're talking today. There's no fighting, right? You guys are okay with that?
Well, as long as Kristen behaves. Let's see how it goes.
It's for MMA, it's actually something that for a lot of us would take that's hard work. Then again, being able to be in a ring and having to keep her cool, because one of the things that we've learned, as long as you're going to a fight, it's best to always keep your mind at cool. So you keep on with your strategy in terms of getting into a fight. MMA in Belize, it's actually getting there, and folks would like to see more of it. Talk to us about this seminar that's coming up. Why a seminar? Why are we actually branching off into MMA?
Well, like you were saying, MMA is a sport, so the athletes, it's very important for them to keep their cool and keep their concentration. And so any sport is tough in that regard. You have to be able to stay focused and execute your strategy. And so mixed martial arts is no different than any sport in that respect.
In terms of it, sure. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna jump in and say my very limited experience with martial arts has taught me that essentially you try to steer away from fighting. As much as you have been taught all the skills to be able to do so, it's more self-defense. What MMA has done, in addition to mixing the different forms of martial arts, is really give you a competitive combat situation. And for people who watch it, it's extremely entertaining, but also at the same time, as John was pointing out, not everybody can imagine themselves in that situation. So I just want to get into a bit about why you guys chose to become MMA fighters. It looks painful to start off with. It requires great skill. It requires great mental tenacity. But what about it made you guys decide this was something you wanted to do? Let's start with you, Christian.
Well, first I just wanted to lose weight.
Really? So you're just fighting as a way of losing weight?
Well, it started as just good farmer workout, the cardio and stuff was really intense, so you lose a lot of weight fast. Then I got a couple of friends that got into it, and I was like, no, you should try this. Then when you got into it, you actually love it. Then beside just fighting, you learn a lot of self-discipline, and you get to carry that through your day, and so it helps you a lot in your day-to-day life also.
It's going to be very hard.
Let's get the rest of them as to why they get into it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when I first saw the UFC, I was 15 years old, and at that time the champion was Royce Gracie, and he was about a 185-pound man fighting guys in their 200, close to 300 pounds, and being able to win with technique. And when I was in high school, I was a small kid, and I was always an athlete, but team sports, I was always kind of looked down upon just because of my size. So, for me, it was just heaven sent. I started training and immediately wanted to compete in mixed martial arts.
Cool.
Yeah, I kind of feel like innately men are just kind of designed to be warriors. And it's a good way for us to be able to test ourselves and to be able to explore that side of our nature, and I think that's why a lot of the guys do it.
I would think that in terms of men being warriors, it's actually trying to build a house and the nail would bend and say, I need to get this nail back up. How do you, and for you, Christian, how do you try to get somebody into loving fighting? Then again, it's not really fighting, it's actually, everything here is about technique. And so how do you get somebody, a Belizean, into wanting to be a part of the mixed martial arts? You wanted to lose weight, yes. Your friends loved the MMA, yes. Then you started to love it. What about that would you love, or how can you find yourself loving such thing?
It's a pretty hard question, but I don't know. You have to love it. You have to like want to be competitive. You want to, you know, fight as a positive thing. You know, that's all I can say. You have to love it in order to want to get into it.
There's definitely been a growing interest in Belize, and we've had you guys on several times. We've done demonstrations. You've taught us about tapping out and all the other techniques that are important. But what do you find to be the reason that people are drawn? Is it the excitement of it? The opportunity to get into a legal fight where hopefully you're paired up with somebody who's your proper match?
I don't really think that's it even, because really maybe only a quarter of the people who train with us have any desire to fight. I think it's just there's a real sense of family and brotherhood among the team, you know, and I think it's a lot of it's just belonging to something, you know, and that's my opinion.
Right, it gives you confidence and helps you lose weight or stay in shape, and yes. But I think the question of like why how you would get someone else into mixed martial arts, it's really fun. It's right, there's so much technique that goes into it. Learning those techniques and being able to apply them in a real situation, because in training we go live and you're able to use the techniques that you've learned and realize, hey, I'm actually progressing and getting better, and it builds your confidence for self-defense. So yeah. In terms
of getting to know Nate Marquardt, let's get to know you better, because you know it's big for Belizeans, especially when they're pay-per-view fights. Their last week was a pay-per-view fight, and one of my favorite fighters was actually in the how do you say, the fight before the co-main event, which is Anderson Silva. So you've been in the MMA for how long?
Since 95, about.
Wow.
So, training since 95. I had my first fight in 1998.
Wow. So give to us some of the big name fighters that you have fought against.
Well, I fought Anderson Silva.
You kidding?
I fought him for the title in 2007. I fought Dean Lister, Jeremy Horn. I fought, I'm trying to think, Joe Dirksen. Fought
That's a long
Martin
career.
Cameron. Yeah. So.
Wow.
So you're known as Nate the Great, and you have quite an extensive background. Tell me, what do you find to be the tools in your arsenal that have made you the name that you are in UFC?
That's hard to say. I've been given a lot of gifts, and you know, I do love the sport, and I love the technique of it, and I also love the competition of it. I'm definitely a competitor, and always trying to find a way to win, even when I'm outmatched, and kind of that's what got me into the sport. So, and you know, I would say maybe my drive to be the best is part of it, because that's what's going to motivate you in the training room. It's going to make you push harder on when you're lifting weights and when you're doing your cardio and things like that. So.
What do you do when you're in a fight? And this is for all of you, because you prepare yourself with all the techniques that there are. You've checked out your competition. You have an idea of what their technical capacities are. But then there is the mental strength that is important. Getting in there and coping with that bit of pain to be able to change or dominate once again. What do you do to be able to keep yourself focused on being able to win the fight itself?
Let's go, Coach.
Joel?
Let's go, Coach.
Well, we've seen you. I mean, we've had the live coverage before. We've seen you in the ring.
Yeah, for me, you know, I just getting in there is terrifying for me anyway. I have to pee like 42 times before I go in, you know, and it's a lot of nerves. But once you're in there, and I've only had 3 fights, you know, I'm not like these guys. But once you're in there, all that kind of goes away. And even when you get hurt, you don't even realize it till afterwards. You know, everything else is gone. The crowds are gone. Everything's gone except you and the guy standing in front of you. And so that's how it is for me.
For you, Nate?
About the same.
Yeah, you block it all out.
Yeah, you block it out and I have to pee a bunch of times. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, obviously with more experience, those nerves you're able to control more, and there's not as much of the
He pees 12 times now.
there's not as much of the unknown factor, which a lot of times in your first few fights you're kind of like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. But I mean, I still get the same nerves. It's no different.
All right.
So it's nice to know that
everybody gets nervous. Yeah.
I mean, I don't pee as much as these guys.
But you drink more water.
I apologize.
But yeah, I do get nervous and stuff. But as Nate said, with experience, you get to pass that. But you're getting in the cage to fight with someone, so you gotta be nervous. I actually have friends that are not nervous at fight. I was like, man, how can you not be nervous when you to fight someone? But as soon as the cage shut, like everything just dropped, and it's game time.
And it's beast mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it to be weird because, and from the standpoint that leading up to a fight, you're actually in the mindset that you actually need to hate somebody. Listening to what I see on the TV, you know, they actually build a hype between the two, and then watching the way in, there's normally a big there's normally like a big heat amongst these two. Then again, getting into a fight, we're not hating, we're actually trying to think about strategy. What is that like, having to be put to a hype and then eventually getting into a fight with this individual, not hating him, but at the same time you want to take him down?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been good at that, to be honest. Like, some guys are really good at that. Conor McGregor, Chael Sonnen, those guys.
Yeah, you look like such a nice guy. People say, oh, he'll be easy to fight.
Yeah, that's my strategy. I just, the crap talking, as we call it, we don't, I'm not very good at it, and I just tend to kind of approach the fight from more of a strategic standpoint and like statistics and things like that. So, but yeah, some guys make it out to, and most guys when they're talking like that, it's not personal, it's hype.
Building yourself.
I would say there's a few times where it is real though.
Personal.
Yeah.
I've seen Cormier and John Jones Boone.
Yeah, I think John Jones and Cormier, they really don't like each other.
That seems pretty much.
And Diaz along with Conor McGregor. Do these guys
and
like each other?
Diaz is one of those guys where when he goes in the ring, he wants to hate the guy. So even if he has nothing against him, he's like, I don't like that guy, you know?
Yeah.
So it's... Yeah.
So it's something he does to prepare himself for the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
Do you have any memorable moments that you'd like to share that perhaps, I mean, what goes through your mind when you're in the fight itself?
Don't get beat.
That's it? And you get hit and you feel the shock and pain of it, and what do you do to recover?
It's like, as soon as you get in the ring and you get hit, it's like, yo, it's real, you know? It's about to go down.
That's the first wake-up call.
Yeah, it's wake-up call. It's like, hey, you better take the fight to him or he'll take the fight to you.
I don't feel anything.
No?
Once you're in there, no, I don't. Not until afterwards. The next morning I can, it's a different story, but then everybody's different in that regard, I think. But
That's so true, because like, I got hurt in a fight, then I didn't know I got hurt until after the fight, and it was like serious. I was like, wow, I didn't feel anything in there.
Yeah.
And you settle down, then all the blood stopped flowing and stuff. It was like,
So it's actually adrenaline.
I think it depends though. Like one time I kicked a guy and it hit the nerve on the outside of my shin. And my foot went numb and basically limp for like a minute and a half, and that's all I could think about the whole time. And and I just tried to pretend I was fine, and I'm like moving around. That's all I could think about. Please go away.
Did you win the fight?
I did. Yeah.
All right. So you were able to overcome it. Is there any other moment that you can share that perhaps, because it is, as much as you have a competitor, it's pushing your own limits, taking as much as you can and still being able to overcome your competitor. So it's a lot of it's a lot of your own thinking taking place during the game. Tell me about one moment that within a fight itself that has always stood out to you, that you knew you had the strength to continue in this path.
Well, back to the Belize versus Guatemala fight.
That was a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah, you know, all the Guatemala and Belize disputes and stuff like that. And I can remember leading up to the fight, you know, I was like shaking, never shaking. And I saw my opponent, the guy was like rip. I was like, oh my gosh. You know, and I got into the ring, and the first time I went to take him down and he sprawled, I was like, okay, I can't take this guy. You know, I was telling myself I can't take the guy. Then I heard like friends from the crowd like, let's go, Christian, you can do this, you can do this. Then like after the first takedown, like, all my confidence just came back. you know, and I started to do what I knew as
strategy.
Yeah, I started taking strategy and stuff like that. Then I ended up winning the fight in the second round.
Excellent, man. So, Coach, let's get.
Something you were saying earlier kind of made me think of. It's funny, like when you were saying how you block everything out, but once in a while, for me, I'll be so focused, and then all of a sudden I realize like where I am. And one of those times was pretty funny. I was fighting. I actually can't remember. I think I was fighting Jeremy Horn. No, I can't remember who was fighting. So anyway, I got rocked, like, and, you know, he punched me and I was kind of dazed.
Yeah.
And I went and took him down. And as soon as I took him down, I hear the commentators like talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, this is so weird." And I looked over and gave him like a thumbs up. But you know, I've had a lot of those moments where it's, you know, where you get hurt or where you're tired or whatever, and you just kind of have to overcome and never give up.
So, how did this connection get started? How did you end up in Belize to be able to talk to young, up-and-coming MMA fighters?
Well, Joel is a missionary here, so
yes.
And he's connected with Calvary Chapel.
Okay.
And I used to go to Calvary Chapel in Aurora, Colorado. And there was a guy there that told me that he came down here and helped Joel out, and
you said, what? They're MMA fighters?
Yeah, he said that they did some MMA stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then Joel actually gave me a call recently and just asked if I'd be willing to come down and do a seminar. And
excellent.
Yeah, so.
Now, what are you hoping to achieve with this event?
I think a couple things. One is obviously primarily for the guys, you know, to get some high-level training for the guys. We've got 4 or 5 guys especially who really are doing well. They have winning records, and just to get that next level training for them. The next thing is just exposure. You know, MMA in Belize is in its infancy, and so just letting people know that we're here. You know, we're training, and then Nate and I both we're Christians, so we kind of both use it as a venue to share the gospel and to reach out to young guys who we might not otherwise have access to.
How many fighters in Belize have you worked along with?
I don't know. Actual guys who have fought, probably 15 or 20. Something like that.
And is there a knock for it in terms of for bodybuilding? There are folks who would say, you know what, you look at a guy and you could tell, okay, he would be a good bodybuilder just from the way he's built. Do you have like the eye to say, you know what, that guy would be a very good MMA fighter?
Just looking at him, for me anyway, it just, in my experience, my limited experience, no. Okay. There's guys that'll come in that look jacked, and I think, man, he's going to be great, and he lasts half a practice and he's gone. Yeah. And you'll see some guy who's overweight and doesn't look like he would ever do anything, and he'll prevail. He'll overcome, and he'll be one of the best guys on the team.
For the seminar coming up,
do you want to answer that, Nate, for yourself?
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, you can't tell just by looking at someone. And even I ran a gym for 10 years, and I would say even the first few times in the gym you can't tell, because it's really, it takes so long to get good at this sport, and you can't tell. It's whoever sticks in the game the longest. Yeah.
For the seminar, because I'm sure there are a lot of guys in Belize right now who want to be just like Christian in terms of being a part of the MMA, this whole MMA thing. For the seminar coming up, what can one expect going to that seminar? And do you think, for especially with Christian here, I'm sure there are a few of his friends, because his friends got him into it. I'm sure there are a few of his friends who would want to be a part of it. What would you say to these guys who would want to be a part of it, but they're a little skeptical?
Well, for one thing, understand when we're talking about a seminar, it's not a guy up there with a microphone talking. It's a workout. But it's a great way to come and kind of just check it out, see if you like it. We're going to be working some striking on the ground, some stand-up striking, some grappling, some takedowns. It's going to be tonight at 7 p.m. at Body 2000, and then tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Okay.
But also, it's not. Don't expect to come in and be fighting, right? You're not.
We're
not gonna. You're not gonna get punched, and you're not gonna get choked out. It's gonna be technique. You're gonna work on techniques, and
You're on a break from fights.
I could just imagine. And for Coach again, being that you worked along with a lot of Belizeans, do you see, besides Christian, who is here with us, do you see some of the guys who you know or who you think, you know what, these guys could go very far into it?
Man, I say it all the time. I've never seen in such a small population such a concentrated group of athletes. There are so many guys who, if they devoted themselves and committed themselves, could go far. So yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Now, how do you, and I'm glad you touched on that, because we know that in Belize, we've been able to organize a few fights, a few international fights. We've been working with the Mexican clubs. We had the Belize versus Guatemala, which was very important to us as well. But what is it like trying to get the exposure for the fighters? So obviously you can train with each other, but you really want them to be able to have high-level competition.
That's been hard. It's a little easier now, but when we were first starting, because we were brand new clubs and nobody knew we existed, so we never got invited to anything.
Yeah.
But now, every time the guys in Cancun or Playa or Chetumal have fights, they always invite us, because our guys, sometimes they don't invite us because our guys always win. but they always invite us because they know we've got some quality fighters. And I'm not even joking. There's a couple leagues up there that don't want our guys to come sometimes. Every time we come, we blow them out.
Excellent. And for Nate, MMA fighting, this, like we mentioned, this is hard work, you know, something you have to like. But talk to us about the diet of somebody who actually is a fighter like yourself. What do you eat? What's your day like? What's your daily routine?
Yeah, that really varies fighter to fighter. For me, I eat more of like a paleo style diet. I eat a lot of meat and a lot of fats. I don't eat grains, except when I'm in Belize, apparently.
You just got here yesterday.
Yeah. And I personally, I can eat as much as I want, whenever I want. Fighting at 185, I don't have any problem cutting the weight, which is really good, because then I can get full recovery from my training and have full energy for my training. Other guys, they'll limit their calories, and other guys follow certain dietitians and nutritionists. But really, I mean, if you just eat a healthy, whole diet, I think that's going to be the best for anybody.
And being in the ring is actually 5 minutes per round. You're in a 3-round fight, or you're probably in a main event where it's about 5 rounds at 5 minutes each. Is 25 minutes. What about building the stamina building techniques? Can you share that with us? Because I'm sure there are guys who are listening who are actually watching right now and say, you know what, it's hard for me to build stamina being in a fight. What do you do?
Well, so that's a great point. There's a lot of things you can do for cardio. You can run, bike, swim, all kinds of different intermittent sprints and things like that. But really, there's nothing that's going to get you in shape for a fight except fighting. So in the training room, on the mat, in the ring, or in the cage, that's going to be the best way, because you can be the best, you could be a marathon runner, and you get in there, and if you've never been in a ring or even just in sparring, you spar for 2 minutes and you're going to be exhausted because of the nerves and all those things involved. So yeah, really the best thing is going to be fighting.
Christian, for you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like my coach was talking just now, because he tells us it's the same thing. The same thing. So I don't know if these guys coordinate their thoughts and stuff. But as for Nate, I'm always dropping below my actual body weight to fight. And I do eat healthy sometimes, but we have.
Still we have fried chicken now.
Tell us the truth.
Lychee and
we have this when we speak to athletes in Belize. It's always the diet is always the hardest part.
I haven't drank Coke for a couple months now, so that's a plus. Right. But I still struggle with lychee.
But what's lychee?
You'll try it. You'll get some. But I'm always cutting weight. Nate have the privilege of not cutting weight, 185 going up. But we have like this thing called training camp, which is we do it a month before a fight, and that's like one of the hardest time like comes to eating wise, because I'm always cutting. So like one fight I was like way overweight, overweight, so I had to lose like 15 pounds in a week. And it wasn't healthy losing.
Whoa.
But I had to lose it in order to fight, to make weight.
So what did you do? Stop eating for a week?
No, I didn't stop eating. No, I did the water diet.
Yeah.
And it was pretty intense, but I made it weight.
Yeah.
So after each time, you know, you learn your experience, so you know how to go from there.
Yeah.
It become easier after a while.
That's the worst part, I think. You know, I wrestled and stuff, and weight cut especially, it's changed a little bit now, but when I wrestled, that was the worst part of it. Was I missed every Thanksgiving, you know, and watching every little bite you're eating.
Yeah. And you know, that's part of the effort that athletes put in that people don't always see, the behind the scenes, the waking up for the gym, the maintaining a healthy diet and supplements and whatever else they need. Now my question is, what's it like for your family members? You know, when you look at a fight, and it's like boxing, listen, if you see a knockout, as somebody who has no attachment whatsoever to the fighter, it's a very nerve-wracking experience. Are they okay? Will they be okay? Or you see a gash on the face or something that looks really painful. What has it been like for your family members to be supportive, and also how do you help to calm them down and let them know that I will be okay? Let's start with you, Nate.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, it can be very nerve-wracking for them, especially if they haven't seen it before or haven't watched any sparring. So my wife goes to all my fights, and when she used to come to the gym often and watch me train, it was no problem for her because she saw what was happening. She knew what position I was in and how the fight was going, and you know that I was okay. And you know, more recently, she's not been able to watch my training, so now when she gets to the fight, she's a little bit more nervous. I can tell, but again, she's experienced.
So you give a special thumbs up after you've been knocked down.
Oh
so,
yeah. Yeah.
And for you, Christian?
To family members that know the sports, they kind of know what you're getting into. I mean, it's hard to see your family member get hit, you know, like, oh, come on. But then, like, if they know the sports, they know what you're getting into, so they know what to expect and what not to expect. So they kind of prepare their mind ahead of time to know what's going to happen. Okay. Some are happy with it, some are not.
You know, we here in Belize, we have the tendency that if you get into a brawl with somebody, it's difficult to eventually look at that person now and still take that individual as a friend. It actually becomes an enemy. So how do you develop the mind to following a fight, even if you should lose, that this person now this person actually is just neutral to you, rather than to say, you know what, I just hate him. He beat me up.
Well, it started in the training because when we're in training, you know, your teammate take you out, you know, and sometimes you get hurt by mistake, and then that's where you develop your mind to self-discipline. I know I have a fight where I've been choked out, and I don't want to shake the guy's hand, you know. But then, you know, I was like,
still upset.
Yeah, you know,
but then gotta be.
Yeah, because you train to do that, you know. Yeah. So you get in there, it's like, hey, nice fight, man. Then after a while, you get over it. Then we go have wings with the guy afterwards, you know, and stuff like that.
I was just say most of the time you see guys when they're in a war and they beat each other up, they're usually pretty sportsmen after. Even the guys that talk a lot before the fight.
Yeah. And it's good for a good example to set for others as well.
Yeah, and like was Kristen saying, you said how do you become neutral toward them, and my experience has never been neutral. You know, I'm friends with the guys afterwards. You know, it's not like, you know, I got in fights in high school and stuff, and same thing, you see the guy and you got to puff up, you know, and it's not like that at all.
Especially if you lost.
Exactly, yeah. And it's not like that at all. The couple fights that I've had, you know, I see the guys at other fights, and, you know, happy to see the guy, you know, we hang out, and it's nothing like that.
And again, Nate, we know that time is not on our side, but Nate, I need to know, because while you've been on TV, you know, you've been at the top level in terms of MMA, and then again mixed martial arts. Have you ever worked along with anybody in any other country? And what is this experience like for you, coming to a new country, coming to a Central American country to work along with some guys?
Oh yeah, I've worked with guys from all over the world. My first 6 years of fighting, I fought over in Japan.
Oh wow!
So I would go over there and train sometimes, stay for months and train with the guys there. And I've trained in Australia, and I trained with guys from Europe, and so yeah, I mean South America as well. So it's really cool because with sports and specifically mixed martial arts, because it's so one-on-one, you really develop relationships with people easily. It's you don't have to kind of force a relationship. It just happens naturally.
And your first impression of Belize so far?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Okay, well, gentlemen, of course, we want to be able to remind everybody that the seminar starts tonight. It is at 8, you said?
It's at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock at Body 2000 on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
And it continues tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. What do people need to do if they want to be a part of the seminar?
If you want to come, pre-registration's closed now, but you can just come. It's $25. Bring a tightish fitting t-shirt, if you don't have MMA shorts, like basketball shorts, a water bottle, a towel. And I'd like to take a second and thank our sponsors as well who made it possible. Radisson especially. Radisson put them up, and Seaside Cabanas and Keycocker, Under the Water Tours in Keycocker, Ali Graphics, who made all of our beautiful flyers here. My Island Air did an awesome job of shuttling around back and forth. And, so we just really appreciate all those guys who helped make this trip possible.
All right, sounds like you'll get some of the fun side as well.
You get the fun side. I'm just
we do have a little bit of fun lined up for you this morning as well. So here's the thing. Today's Fun Friday for us, and we know that a part of MMA fighting includes concentration and coordination, right? Wouldn't it?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, great. So we get to test that this morning, right? It's a very difficult challenge that we have lined up. So I hope you guys are ready, right?
All right.
What we're gonna do is get a little graphic up on the screen. We'll move over to see our game, and we'll have 2 of you join us so that we can move into our competition for this Fun Friday. All right? You ready?
Yeah.
What do you do before a game? How do you
get
psych
yourself pumped
Let's
up.
go. Yeah. who has on wireless? You're wired in?
So my life ain't my own. If you walk with the Christ, it's more than just Sunday morning. It's how I live on the rock. How you talk to your wife. It's how I live when I'm home. When I cut off the lights, how I'm spending my dough. That's when my heart is exposed. Am I generous with it, or do I never let go? These boys is young, wild, and reckless, scheming on a necklace. Teachers tell them they'll never be nothing but a detriment. While you looking past them, they headed for the casket. I'm trying to show them love. While you mad about my track list, you whitewashed tombs. Yeah, I hear you quoting Sturgeon. If you ain't out here,
ready?
All right.
Yeah? All right. There you have it. These are your tools for today. You will have 1 minute to be able to take, these are Skittles, out of the cups and separate them by color.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
1 minute.
Right?
1 minute, okay.
1 minute, right?
Right.
So who can get the furthest with this?
Now, what happens if the Skittles disappear?
Then you have less in the cup. So I'll stay far away too, don't worry.
So it's a race to see who gets them first. And listen, I really like Nate, but
You're his coach. And we'll see how you help to motivate him in a competition, right? Okay, so are we ready? Do we have the time ready?
Yep.
All right.
Everything is ready.
So here we go. This is the big matchup between Belizean fighter Christian
versus the U.S. fighter.
What's your fighting name? They just call you Christian?
Christian.
We need to give you we'll call you Sweet Christian if you will.
All right. Hey, careful.
All right. Belizean.
Do we get to take it out or just from the cup?
Yes. No, you take it out from the cup. All right? So thank you.
Oh, you can't double.
No, you can't.
That's what I was doing.
All right. So are we ready?
All right.
So we have Nate the Great versus Belizean's own Christian. Ready? Sweet Christian if he wins. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. All right.
Here we go. Here we go, Coach. How do you keep him motivated?
I don't know. I'm at a loss for words here. I'm enthralled in the game.
All right, we're down to 40 seconds.
You got to pick up your game, Chris. He's ahead of you. You see, this is the difference between a professional athlete and a...
It's the
We're down to 30
concentration
seconds.
that's coming in now.
You see the focus on that part?
what we have learned so far about our fighters is that they're not colorblind.
All right, we're down to 20 seconds.
All right. And we'll see who Belize, I imagine Belize is behind you right now, even though you're not versus Guatemala.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close.
10 seconds.
I think he loses some points for that too. Look. He's got one. That whole cup's disqualified. Yes, Lord!
3, 2, 1, done. Okay, there you go.
You said it was close.
You see, when it comes down to the wire, then they really get rough, right? I saw that. All right, so you want to count these ones, and I'll count these ones, right?
My ladies come from the
You
winning.
can't count this one. All right,
Yeah, well,
all right.
then you go down to 3 points, right?
All right. So we got to do this quickly now. We got 3, 6, 7.
So we don't count this one?
That's a minus point.
All right.
Wait, you can count the purple one.
You can count the purple ones, just don't count the green one that's in there.
All right. So we have 7 and.
Alright, so it's 8 here. I'm taking out the green.
All right. I got my final number.
Alright, getting mine in a few.
That's not looking good for me. I don't think.
I'm gonna get ready.
Got a lot of
I'm gonna
greens
get ready to raise a hand.
All right. Are you ready? And the final number in the big matchup, Nate the Great versus Belizean Sweet Christian Usher. All right, are you ready? Final score?
34.
And for Sweet Christian, 38. All right. Thank you guys for being such great sports and adding to our fun Friday. We appreciate you being here. Be sure to check out the MMA seminar being hosted by Prevail Club. And you will get to meet Nate the Great, and you'll get some great techniques as well. It starts tonight at 7 p.m. at Body 2000 on the 3rd floor and continues tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thank you once again, guys. Best of luck. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking to the promoter of the concert that's taking place this weekend, the Valentine Special, and one of their featured artists, Mapi the violinist. It's going to be a great show. Stay tuned.